the internal working of a linked list. So so as we know that what's the difference between, first of all, array list and a linked list? Both of these implement the list interface. I think linked list is a class, array list is also a class. So both of them implement the list interface. But for the linked list, it also implements a dequeue interface. And eventually, so it can use the methods of list as well and queue and dequeue as well. So that's the benefit of linked list. Okay, and the difference between this. So here we can see this. Okay, and then when we go to now it follows, when we talk about array list, it follows the contiguous memory allocation. So what happens is, for example, 4 bytes of data is taken for an int. So the first value will be stored at 1000, and then second will be stored at 1004, 1008. So if we want to enter, add a value in between of these two, we have to shift the whole array list to the side, which is not very efficient. Okay, so that's why we have implemented the linked list. So linked list is of two types, single linked list and doubly linked list. So we'll be studying mostly about singly today. And so what happens is, it has two nodes. The first one has the data, and second one refers, it's a next node which refers to the data from the second node, second this. Okay, so first one is called head, and the next points to the next data variable. So then it has data, next, data, next, data, next, and here data, and the last one would have null value. Okay, this is called the tail. This is called the head. Okay, so head, this next refers to the data from the second node. Okay, and next, this next points to the data from the third node. Okay, similar. So if you enter the values like 10, 20, 30, 40, so this one would called the head, 10 would be called head, n would be pointing to 20, so it would be called this next is pointing to 20 variable, and this next is pointing to the 30 variable, and this next is, okay, so this is data, well, data next, data next, data next, and data next, and this is pointing to the null. Okay, so this is it. And then we talk about this we have done. So for example, yeah, so for example, this is the head data next, only single is there. This is only, has only data element single. This is pointing to null. Okay, and this is called the empty linked list. Okay, this is called single element linked list. This is called empty linked list. An empty linked list head directly points to the null. And it's in which we have one element. So this head points to data, next points to null. Okay, now it's a common interview question that they ask, create a linked list yourself. How would you create a linked list? Okay, so in that, they would ask us to create a linked list. So we know this is the structure of the linked list, single linked list. Okay, this is the, for example, we have 3 values, and head is pointing the first value, the next would be pointing the second node, this one, and this node would be pointing the third value. So we have to implement this. So what we do is, we know that, okay, we create a class node, and that we put, so because data next would be there, as we can see in here, you have to add that, and this is the constructor. So we'll be passing into data in this will be called every time. Okay, and this dot data is equal to data, so we are passing data, and this value we are defining, and then next is equal to null. Okay, so this we will implement now. So what we have done is, here my linked list I've created a class, and then I've created another class inside this called node, in which I've created this data and this variable. These two are important because they will contain the linked list. And then this is a constructor. This has this data value. Okay, whatever data we pass, it will be stored here. Okay, and then next value is null. Okay, so now in the main method, what we do is we create a class. We create an object of this class, new linked list, and then we refer it through the reference variable. Okay, and now we need to call this class new node. Okay, and refer it to ll.new node, and we constructor will get called. Okay, ll.new node constructor will call, and this is the value of node. Okay, this will be given value of node, and we are giving it a first variable, for example. And what is the first variable? First variable is the head, as we have seen here. First variable is the head. So whatever value is there, new node, we are assigning it to first variable, and then we are assigning that to the head. What is head? Head is a first element of the. Okay, so ll dot head, because it is reference is main, so we have assigned this variable. This is a class variable. Okay, the class variable will be accessed through reference variable. Okay, you can see. So now what we do is, now we have second value, so node second is equal to this. Okay, so node first got stored here, node first got stored here, and the second is this. Now this one would point to the second node. Okay, so what we'll do, the ll dot next would be equal to, no, first dot next would be equal to, first dot next would be equal to second. Okay, first dot next is equal to second, this would be equal to second, and then second dot next is equal to third, and then third dot next is equal to null. Okay, first dot next is equal to second, and second dot next is equal to third, third dot next is equal to null. Okay, now third similarly we are defining here. So how do we print this linked list? Okay, so to print this, we have created a method, and we define node n is equal to head. Why? Because we are printing n, and the first variable is head. Okay, so this needs to be defined, and then when n is not equal to null, so here when until n is gets equal to null, we will keep printing it. So since this is a condition, we'll use a while loop. While n is not equal to null, we'll print out the n, and the next variable would be n will assign to n dot next. Okay, n dot next, and then second variable would be, when you print n dot next, it would be this, and then n dot next would become 30. Okay, so this is how we do it. So let's try access it. Print linked list, sorry, this is under this. is it not printing this? Print links list. I want to print this LL. And we can see that this should give us value of 10, 20 and 30, but it did not give us. Why? Because we didn't execute this.
अभी आया है that no need to write system.out.println again and again. So there's a shortcut. Hey guys, this is Naveen here. Welcome back to Naveen Automation Labs. What if tomorrow, so on, and we just need to print it with the help of a while loop until you find the next pointer.
Okay, so we printed out this linked list.